The United States activity, both militarily as well as monetarily, in every single continent to ever exist, amazes me. Look, every single election cycle, every single senator, every single person in government always likes to talk a big game about ending wars, about keeping money at home, and whether it's a Democrat, whether it's a Republican, whether it's an independent, in this, it doesn't matter. Inevitably, the United States will always get involved in dicey situations. Now, I'm not saying there are no situations where the military can get involved. I'm not saying we shouldn't have a military. And I'm not saying the military should never be involved or never do anything. There are definitely some circumstances where it makes sense to use the military. And there are definitely some situations where it makes sense to send countries money or to send them aid or to send them old military equipment or food, etc. But to the level that's happening, it's absurd. I mean, this year, the United States has sent Argentina a blank check, has sent military equipment to Ukraine, to Israel. We are bombing boats off of Venezuela. I mean, we're touching every single continent. You know, we might take over Canada and or Greenland. We're going into South America. We're going over into the Middle East. We're in Europe/Asia. I mean, we're also getting involved in Africa because of the genocide of the Christians in Africa, I believe it was Niger, I think, Sudan. I don't know. There's crazy stuff going on all over the world. And I'm not saying that it's a bad thing to get involved necessarily. You know, if there's no opportunity cost, if you're not losing anything, you know, if you have food that's about to expire and a homeless person comes up to you and you have abundance of food and you don't really need it, you're like, all right, whatever, I'm getting ready to throw. If you're getting ready to throw out food that's about to expire and somebody comes up to you and you just give them the food, there is no opportunity loss. You know, if the United States in some instance gives, let's say, Ukraine old military equipment that's useless to us because we've got way better stuff, and it's like, okay, they're going to partially pay for it, the European NATO countries are going to partially pay for it. Maybe in that instance I could sort of see it, but in all these instances, number one, we are creating enemies in Russia, in Iran, in Iraq a while back, in Palestine, in Africa, in South America. You spend money, it risks American lives, and we get enemies. It doesn't make any sense. You would think that if you're the top of the top, you know, the United States, from an economical standpoint and a military standpoint, although we don't have the same monopoly on force and monopoly on just, you know, building stuff and just the strongest economy, we do have the strongest economy ever, but we don't have it to the same level that we did 30 years ago. Regardless of that fact, you would think that if you were at the top, you would not want to do things to provoke other people who are also strong, in China with the tariff battle, in Russia with, you know, fighting a war against them, in every single different continent. You would think that you would want to keep all your money at home, so not send Argentina a useless 40. We don't get anything from that. We get nothing from that. Or helping Israel, or helping Ukraine, or battling any of these countries. It doesn't make sense. Like, in what world can you have homeless people, homeless veterans? In what world can you don't have universal health care, but you're sending money to countries that do have universal health care? That doesn't make any sense. You know, the one instance where maybe you could twist my arm and say, well, you know, the people in the United States are suffering and they pay the taxes and they built this country and they deserve it, but we can sprinkle some food in Africa just so people don't die. I'm like, okay, I guess we can give them some aid, because in that instance, we're not creating an enemy. We're not killing anyone. That's a big one. I don't like creating enemies. I don't like killing anyone. I guess if we're going to send food, maybe I'd be fine with it. You know, I'd prefer to help Americans, hungry Americans, because that's kind of the goal of a nation. You know, if you have a nation, the president and the whole government as a whole are supposed to be serving Americans. This isn't the president of the world. This is the president of the United States. And the whole goal is to improve the average American. Now, you can't fix everybody's life. You can't improve, you know, inevitably, if you raise taxes on the rich, it's going to hurt the rich. So you can't make everybody's life better. But should we not be discussing what's better for Americans, not what's better for Ukrainians or Israelis or Venezuelans? It's like, this is completely absurd and it's not sustainable. Under no circumstances can you just inevitably create enemies, waste money, waste resources. Think about how much better the United States would be if instead of spending $1 trillion, That's the new military budget. We spent half of that. We'd still have the biggest military. That's the craziest thing. We would still have the biggest military. We could have universal health care. We could have free child care. Probably do some other stuff. Maybe even free trains. I don't know. But I would much rather have universal health care, free child care, and a train system throughout the United States. That would be much preferable. Even if we just got hypothetically, even if we just started a project to build the most insane train system in the United States, it's free, it runs 24/7. You can get everywhere in the United States. That would be pretty cool. I mean, I'd like the universal health care. I'd like some other stuff, but if we could just do that,